So I pulled it up over here. 3.3 million, no, 3.5 million people watched this clip of Caitlin Clark standing and clapping.
3.5 million views for applauding. You read correctly? When Caitlin Clark merely cheered at her boyfriend's game, she shattered the internet. However, this isn't just a viral moment. Rather, it's about a seismic shift in women's basketball as the WNBA tries to promote certain stars. Clark is altering the game and rewriting the entire playbook, demonstrating that genuine star power cannot be produced.
I mean, would I do the video the other day about if there were any NBA players under 30 who were more popular or bigger than her? Who can you think of, period?
Imagine this. Butler's Hinkle Fieldhouse is crammed with fans as the Bulldogs take on Mississippi State. But instead of watching the action on the court, everyone is looking at the stands. And guess what? Caitlin Clark herself is there. You may be asking, what's the big deal? But she's only there to support her boyfriend,
Connor McCaffrey.
Half of Butler, so she's there to support. And it goes beyond just Caitlin now. The whole family is out there supporting the team, which makes sense, right? I mean, who wouldn't, join their family in such activities? Butler shirts and merch and apparel, that's become part of the deal for Caitlin Clark.
She was accompanied by her father and brother when she appeared wearing Butler merchandise for promotion. But believe me, things are about to become crazy as the game is rolling along and tension is rising on the court. Suddenly, the Jumbotron lights up, and there she is. Greater than life, Caitlin Clark.
That's funny, I think she says. But she recognized herself being shown.
The audience erupts, as if a rock star had just walked into the building. Remember when Caitlin Clark played tennis with Nelly Korda 2 weeks ago? Everyone knows that she is unquestionably a star. Twitter.
There's a reason she gets shown up there, because every time she shows up, it's an event. And that just goes to show you what her star power is like and what her emotion.
What does Clark do now? Does she get up and wave or make a grand gesture? Nope, she just claps and smiles. That seems like a very regular thing, doesn't it? But this is where things start to get really fascinating.
Get the victory. But it was simply the motion of clapping that shows you how crazy all this is.
Let's break it down second by second. That brief moment, that sincere reaction, is about to blow up the internet. First, there's the surprise on Clark's face, something she wasn't expecting. Then comes that megawatt smile that lights up a room, or, in this case, an entire arena, and lastly, the clap. Nothing special, just your typical display of support. It's so genuine and normal that people can't get enough of it. Now, you might be wondering how many people would be interested in Caitlin Clark clapping during a game, but get ready to be astounded by the numbers.
Because CBS Sports posts a TikTok, right? And they get the TikTok, Caitlin Clark rocking Butler gear and cheering on her boyfriend.
Yes, that's correct. The video is posted on TikTok by CBS Sports, and what follows next, boom? 3.5 million views. Yes, that's correct. At her boyfriend's game, 3.5 million people saw Caitlin Clark do nothing except applaud and smile.
She has went super viral on video, standing and clapping. Okay, I mean, wow. Now you see that, it says more than 3.3 million people watch Caitlin Clark do something simple. A simple gesture. And I couldn't believe this.
Isn't that unbelievable? 3.55 million views for merely supporting Caitlin Clark. There are no noteworthy plays, no hate speech, no controversy. Just Caitlin Clark being Caitlin Clark.
Take a look at the post.
And it's just Caitlin in a blue shirt clapping. There she is taking a seat like a normal person. And here's the highlight of the game. Dunk, alley-oop dunk, what have you. As you can see in the still below, she was clapping. It's still there, but obviously it's still in.
The shocking thing is that this isn't just a single viral moment. Rather, it's evidence that Clark's star power is unmatched. She doesn't need to be on the court to attract attention or have a public relations team create her image. All she needs to do is show up and be herself.
My mouth dropped. I couldn't believe it. Because, well, Caitlin Clark has went real viral doing one of the most benign things you could possibly think about doing, which is standing and clapping.
That, my friends, are changing the game in ways we're only now starting to comprehend. But first, let's talk about how the WNBA is responding to the Clark phenomenon. Trust me, it's not what you would expect. Remember when 3.5 million people watched Caitlin Clark clap? That's star power, and the WNBA should be leveraging it. Instead, the leagues are taking a strange tack and keeping Clark out of the spotlight. Let's dive into this strange world where the WNBA should be praising the hottest player in women's basketball, but instead the league has been promoting players like Angel Reese and A.A. Wilson, while Clark steals the show.
The media, the legacy mainstream media, the sports media keeps trying to ramrod it down our throats that there are so many superstars in the WNBA. A'ja Wilson, Angel Reese.
Let us dissect it. That simple clapping video is just one example of Clark's incredible social media engagement. Now, 3.5 million views is little in comparison to the attention that the NBA's touted stars receive from their posts.
5 million people have watched that clip. I mean, who knows where it's going to actually end up. So, all the while, and of course, if you just look at the rating for the WNBA, there's a clear line between Clark and everybody else in the league.
However, this is where things start to become fascinating. The NBA has been strangely silent about Clark's viral moments. You would think that they would be gushing about a young star who is drawing millions of fans to women's basketball. That's marketing gold. But instead, the league's official social media accounts hardly mention her at all, as if they're too busy trying to push Angel Reese on us.
Again, they keep putting Angel Reese and these other players into this narrative that they're really moving the needle, that people are really paying attention to everything that they've got going on.
The WNBA appears cautious, almost as if they're saying let's not promote her too much. Now, you might be asking why a league would neglect its hottest new star. It doesn't make sense, does it?
Is that a word? There's immediate hesitancy about giving Caitlin Clark too much praise. They didn't want to give her too much praise. They didn't want to prop her up too much and forget about everyone else who came before her. Didn't want to put her on MVP ladders. Didn't want to put her as Rookie of the Year until it was so evident that they had to. There was just so many things that it felt like it was always just a little bit of a push. Like, make sure you don't do too much. We don't want to give her too much praise.
When Clark played golf, everyone posted about it on big outlets like ESPN, women's tennis accounts, and golf associations. However, her own league, the WNBA, didn't post anything at all. Can you believe that?
Correct. You see her at this event. You see the kind of noise that this is making. You see that this is trending on social media. You see that SportsCenter, Bleacher Report, all of these places, every media outlet is covering this, and you don't say anything.
The WNBA has been attempting to identify the stars by promoting certain players and creating their images, telling us that these are the ones to watch. However, Clark is just being herself. She isn't adhering to any PR playbooks. She is simply playing incredible basketball and being genuine off the court, and people adore it.
The WNBA doesn't always do that, and a lot of people have taken note of it. I mean, it's strange. This league that Caitlin Clark has went to has reluctantly tried to keep her at arm's length.
This is where the NBA's strategy is failing. They are attempting to produce stars, but Clark is demonstrating that genuine star power originates from genuine talent, and that indefinable, it's quality that is impossible to replicate.
So when people try to feed you this BS about A'ja Wilson and Angel Reese and all these others and how they're moving the needle, just go, Caitlin Clark had 3.5 million people watch her stand and clap. I mean, really? Think about that for a moment.
Isn't that unbelievable? The fact that the WNBA isn't making use of Caitlin Clark, an amazing asset, is definitely a head-scratcher. Fans aren't the only ones who are taking notice of Caitlin Clark. NBA royalty is also paying attention to her. The biggest names in sports are discussing her, and what they have to say could rock the basketball world. Let's start with Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner. You might think that the head of men's basketball would avoid the women's game, but Caitlin Clark is an exception. Silver has been talking about her in a unique way, and others are taking notice.
But when you look at some of these other players and some of these other games, and you got to give Adam Silver credit.
Why is the NBA's top dog so interested in Caitlin Clark? Well, Silver isn't just interested. He's impressed and has been praising her performances and impact on basketball. What's interesting is that, despite Silver's outspoken admiration, the WNBA has been eerily silent. The NBA is celebrating Clark's influence on social media as if they can't get enough of her.
But he knows, he understands, and he's been very respectful of Clark, and in turn, so is the NBA and their socials and everything else in highlighting anything that Caitlin Clark does. By the way, the WNBA doesn't always do that, and a lot of people have taken...
You heard that correctly, and all this time the WNBA, the league she's going to play in, is acting as though she doesn't even exist. You might think, well, it's just one guy, but wait, Silver isn't the only well-known person praising Clark. One of Nike's top executives who signed Michael Jordan himself made a comparison that will blow your mind, he said, and I quote,
"She is Jordan now. She is the Michael Jordan for basketball."
This Nike executive refers to Clark as the basketball equal of Michael Jordan, yet this isn't women's basketball, WNBA basketball, or basketball in general. Please consider that we are discussing more than simply a fantastic athlete. We are discussing a person who has been compared to the best of all time, a game changer, a once-in-a-generation talent, and not just the king himself. LeBron James expressed his opinions, stating that more people are eager to see Caitlin Clark perform. It's no little thing for someone of LeBron's caliber to make such a comment.
The one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in. I saw for the first time that they had a chartered plane for the first time in their league history. You know, they flew private. That should be celebrated in its own right. From anyone that's, in sports that's flown commercial or flown, charter, that should be celebrated. And it's because of Caitlin Clark. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it fucked up. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the W.
LeBron isn't the only NBA player taking notice, and it begs the intriguing question of whether men's basketball recognizes and values female talent more than women's leagues do. Stephen Curry added, referring to Clark as a showman and praising her extraordinary self-assurance on the court.
I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine. And then her just confidence. You can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair. Like, she's a performer. It's crazy, though, just because her shot is like that. It's at that level.
The fact that their playing styles are comparable and that Clark's ability to sink three-pointers from the logo reflects Curry's own game-changing strategy makes Curry's commendation even more noteworthy. When a legend like Curry tips his hat, you know it's a major deal.
I contend, I know Jason Whitlock said that he thinks she's the biggest sports star in the country. I think she's certainly at least in the conversation for the biggest needle mover.
And with all this hype, you have to ask yourself if Caitlin Clark is actually changing the game. Not only are Adam Silver, LeBron, and Curry praising her, but prominent figures in the sports world are now referring to her as one of the biggest game changers in sports today, not just in women's sports, but in all of sports, which is monumental. Talking about Caitlin Clark, let's explore how she is changing the rules for fame on and off the court. The crazy part is that Clark, a rookie, is already more popular than many professional athletes. How is that possible? It all comes down to authenticity. When she posts on social media, gives interviews, or makes public appearances, she's just being herself. No PR scripts, no performances. She's not only revolutionizing basketball, but she's also completely flipping the script on what it means to be a sports superstar, and she's doing it effortlessly.
Caitlin Clark declared for the draft a few months ago. The team knew they were getting a megastar. It's Caitlin Clark. We all know that. They are now seeing that the Clark effect is living up to the hype. From a draft party.
You may be asking yourself, well, but does being genuine really translate to success? Well, let me give you the statistics. The clapping video had 3.5 million views, which is more than some WNBA games receive. Even though Clark hasn't played a single professional game, her social media following is growing rapidly, and her jersey sales are skyrocketing. This is where things start to get really interesting. Clark's fame benefits women's basketball overall as well as for herself. More people are watching women's games, more children are taking up basketball, and more sponsors are beginning to take an interest in women's sports.
Ticket sales grew in 2023 by 16% from 2022. Ticket sales have grown by 93% in 2024. What that means is without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA would have taken till 2029 or 2030 to get to where Caitlin Clark has gotten them today. Before the 2023 season, the WNBA had grown by 40% viewership from 2022 to 2023. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400%.
Understand the meaning of this. It appears that authenticity is the new black, and the days of carefully crafted sports personalities may be coming to an end because if there's one thing Caitlin Clark is demonstrating, it's that fans want genuine connections with their sports heroes and want to see the person behind the player. Clark is not just a great player, she's a game changer. She's demonstrating that you don't need a fancy marketing team to be a sports icon. All you need is to be incredibly good at what you do and totally unapologetic.
If there were any NBA players under 30 who were more popular or bigger than her, who can you think of, period, that's getting 2 million views sitting down and clapping? Taylor Swift, maybe Jay-Z and Beyonce together, Kendrick Lamar if Drake was there too, you know, on the receiving end of the clapping in the victory lap. I mean, it's very obviously, you know, there are very few folks across the globe who've got that kind of moat and that kind of juice. So Butler basketball is now on the map.
As we conclude, consider what Clark is doing. She is not just altering our perception of women's basketball, but also our perception of athletes in general. One thing is certain as she prepares to join the WNBA, the game will never be the same. With millions of people watching her attend her boyfriend's game, Caitlin Clark is unquestionably altering the game and having a huge impact on women's basketball. She is a true superstar, and most of all, she is genuine. There is little doubt that women's basketball is going to undergo some exciting changes as she enters the WNBA, but the key question is whether she will disrupt the league. The true lesson from Clark's ascent is this: star power cannot be manufactured. It all comes down to sincerity. We can't stop watching Clark because of her sincere commitment to the game and her life off the court. She's not just playing basketball, she's reinventing what it means to be a sports icon in the modern world.